You are now listening to the Lightwear podcast. www.lightwear.co.uk. What's going on, people? It's myself, Aaron Cap1, the host of the Lightwear podcast. And right now, I'm connected to my brother John Hooks, aka Illuminati Congo. He's an artist and activist, a yogi, and I don't even think there's really a label, if you know what I mean. So I'm gonna just turn it over to you, man. So, right, my brother John, tell me first things, how about your name, man? Where did the name come from?
The name Illuminati Congo, it pretty much comes from the fact that we are all illuminated. I recognize that. I recognize everyone as bringing illumination to this experience in our relationships, whether they're aware of their illumination or not. But that's what the name is for, is to reclaim illumination for we the people and to diffuse a lot of the fear-based ideas that people attach to the Illuminati. They think there's a group of people out there who are trying to manipulate them and have bad intentions for people, global domination. And there are people who have those ideas, but they don't call themselves Illuminati, and affirming them to be illuminated while denying our own illumination through the use of words isn't wise to me. And then Nati Congo is a name for Rastafari people. And so it's also returning the rulership of this world to a natural livity, a natural Rasta livity.
Nice. So it's kind of flipping the script on what people have been almost programmed and conditioned to believe.
Yeah, but it's not like reverse symbology where I'm trying to take something that's bad and make it good again. I'm taking something that's always been good, always been righteous, and returning its original meaning or its original purpose to it. But yeah, some people see it as reverse symbology, like I'm taking something that's considered evil or bad and trying to just make it good. Whereas that's not the case. Everything is rooted in the divine in the first place. So I'm just returning it to where it came from.
And to take something, then that would indicate, or that would mean that someone had possession of something. So like you're saying, by giving the idea that we have to take things back from people or change things, then it's already empowering the idea that, yeah, like you said, that there's this group of people that are more powerful than the everyday people.
Right, and we are the people. They are part of us, and we are part of them, and so it's about taking personal responsibility, but also being able to see these people who may have bogus agendas or agendas that seem harmful or against life, against peace. Being able to also see them as little babies, little traumatized babies who have just ended up in positions that allow their decisions to have a lot more effect on people than maybe our decisions have, since we're not in the political sphere. So that's why people are influenced, and it seems like others are to be blamed. But really, we carry on with a lot of the same behavior as the leaders, as the politicians, as the bankers behind the scene. We carry on with those behaviors in our personal lives day to day, but because we don't have the same influence on a global sphere, it doesn't really mess with people as much as these other people, as these other circles, as their actions do.
Right. So a lot of what people are quick to point the finger at and blame, we actually experiencing and projecting these things in our everyday relationships, right?
Right. We could be tyrannical in our own. We could be hypocritical. We could be threatening to people. We could have alternative motives behind what we're presenting to people. A lot of these things happen in our own personal relationships. And even people be violent, people getting into fights at the bar, people fighting over articles of clothing and stuff. But it's the same thing. If those people were in positions of power, it would just translate into the way the world is being run currently.
So by these people being in the public eye and having all these cameras and stuff like that on them, it just kind of heightens every action that they make, and it allows them to be judged by a lot more people.
Exactly.
Whereas the everyday person doesn't have that spotlight shone on them. No, that makes sense, man. That really does make sense, and it resonates deeply with myself and my personal experience and my journey. So yeah, thank you for that. One of the other questions that I wanted to ask you was, what's one of your inspirations or motivations to do what you do and that got you onto the path that you're on?
Originally, it is my love for Christ. When I was in grammar school, I started doing raps about and for Christ at that time, and also like pro-Black type of. This was when I was little. I just read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and this is what started rooting me into some of the direction that I began to go into. But as the years went by, I started to really get a more jolly and playful and cheerful approach, because that's what this infinite intelligent Christ or laughing Buddha energy began to inspire in me. And so now my main influences is just ecstasy, sex, fun, pleasure. It's anything that I can generate more joy and more fun with is my main motivation. I want to have fun, and I want other people to have fun in life. And so that's pretty much my motivation, feeling good and helping other people feel good.
I noticed that, and a lot of your posts, they come from they definitely come from the heart, man. You can see that what a lot of other people get kind of hung up on and upset about. I often see you make jokes about it, and I think that some people might take that the wrong way and take it that like you don't take it serious or that you don't care. But from what you're saying, it's actually a part of your journey that you were very deep rooted, and I can see from a lot of the stuff that you share and a lot of the posts that you make that you're politically aware, that you're not naive in any way, shape or form towards these subjects that a lot of people feel passionately about, but you still have that balance where you can make a joke about it and you can inspire some laughter and some joy even in a dark situation. And for me, that's refreshing. I like that, because I've got a lot of different people in my social media networks, and I like to have different people of different views. And unfortunately, I see some people that get so passionate and so involved in certain subjects that it becomes almost like a repeater. They become almost like a repeater of, I don't want to say a negative concept, but almost things that they oppose and things that they don't like. They become a repeater of that, and they're just constantly channeling their energy into the things that they don't like, and then seem to be frustrated as to why certain things don't change and as to why they don't see any difference in their reality.
Yeah, our attitude is the most important thing. And so when we allow our own vibration to change from bliss or from its original nature, when we allow ourselves to get stooped in some type of negativity because of something we seen that happened in the news, we're actually creating more problems. Instead of being a person holding a presence of peace, holding a presence of wisdom, mirror-like wisdom, the type of wisdom that just reflects what is, without a judgment, without an attack. If we can't hold that space, we're actually just adding negative karma to the situation. And that's why it takes people who build with Christ consciousness, people who build with presence, the presence of infinite being, to hold a non-judgmental mindfulness of things that are happening in the world, but don't conceptualize these things. Don't make a belief system about any of the things that are happening in the world, not a belief system about people. Like even these words that we're using right now, they tend to form into belief systems. We'll have belief systems about people or belief systems about nationalities or about certain religions. And any hard concepts that we cling to or concepts that we flee from or resist, these are, they reveal our own wallowing in the mire of duality, and there's no bliss there. There's no contact with the soul if we are caught up in all the external things that we have concepts about. The only experience of the soul is when all of those outside things are seen as a great play, a great illusion, and the true essence is perceived.
I think there's a verse from the Gita, and it says that the soul, it cannot be burnt by fire, and it cannot be cut by a sword or wet by water. And if we're to understand or overstand what these concepts mean, then what we perceive to be the worst case scenario, which would probably be for a lot of people being hurt or being burnt, or worst case scenario ceasing to breathe and for the heart ceasing to beat. If we understand that what we truly are in the concept of the soul is untouchable by that, then it's not too hard to see that a lot of the things that we worry about and that we cause these stresses about and that we get so hung up about, and a lot of people spend a lot of time spending their energy on it, it's obviously part of the experience and it's part of life and it serves its purpose, but it's by choice that we choose to give those things that power. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's by the way we label it, by the way when we name these things and give it these labels. You're correct in that we're not experiencing reality as it is if we're living in our thoughts about reality. Only awareness of awareness itself is an experience of the truth. Awareness of awareness itself. And anything other than that is just playing with concepts and thought constructs that we have, that we're leaning towards at the time.
It's almost like a lot of people and a lot of institutions and groups and organizations, they seem to dwell on these things, and they seem to, like you said, to continue creating these things and continue creating these experiences. And I often wonder what would happen if the opposite was encouraged. I don't know whether opposite is the right word, but the alternative. If the alternative was encouraged as much as these negative concepts, this miserable state of existence that seems to occupy. Because for me, one thing that really I struggle to comprehend and understand is that a lot of people, especially in what we call the Western world, like Europe, England, America, a lot of us seem to have the access to a lot of things that a lot of people don't have in other areas of the world, yet they still seem to be so unhappy and so miserable here. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Things don't ain't gonna bring people's happiness. They can be wonderful tools that assist people, but the root of happiness can't be a thing. The root of true happiness is our soul, just existence itself. And when we forget that and get caught up in being happy because of things, or being unhappy because of things, or because of a lack of things, that we're setting ourselves up to that's called idol worship. That's actually what real idol worship isn't. Worshiping a fucking statue
Yeah.
because you see God in it. You see God everywhere. Actually, to see God in everything, or to see God in a stone, isn't idol worship. That's just accepting the omnipresence of God. It's idol worship when you believe that these things have some type of power to bring you to your soul, which is happiness. Your soul is happiness already. And if you just be at your soul and be happy, then the things are just there for your play. They're just tools for what you're building, for what you're working with, for things you want to do in this wonderful incarnation. But when you get caught up in things thinking that there's something that you need or something that you don't need, thinking that there's things that will actually heal you, that's another great idol, believing in the power of other things outside of you to heal you. A lot of things we make idols and we don't even know, because they're actually tied into many religious systems that have justified these idols as some type of place or piece of power, something that has more power than another thing for healing, whereas the infinite omnipresent power of being and the infinite intelligence is everywhere, evenly distributed throughout all time and space. So we can always connect to it, whether through ourselves, through a stone, through a crystal, through an herb. And yes, there are prescriptions and things we can use in this relative world for our benefit, because we are relating in a relative world. But to confuse ourselves in this relative world and believe in the things we're relating to more so than the essence of the things, the origin of the things, is delusion, and that will not produce the best results from my experience and from what I've been learning.
I can totally agree, and I've come to reach a similar level of understanding on the subject as well. So, with regards to this topic, happiness and the way that we experience it and the way that the world is, do you believe, or is it one of your ideas, that we are born happy and that we are born truly at one with existence, and then slowly but surely we disconnect from that through institutions, families, relationships, media, whatever you want to point the finger at and blame it? Do you believe that we come here and we incarnate here at one with the source?
We're always one with the source forever. So yes. Do I feel that every single soul that appears here doesn't have past samskaras or impressions that they are here to clear? No, I feel that there's a good chance that when we come here as babies, we have went through a great spiritual purification. One, death. We probably died, which is a great spiritual purification. And two, we were doing purification of some other sorts in our in-between lives state. And also, our previous lives were also states of doing work towards our greater enlightenment. Now, I know that the original nature of our soul, though, before anything ever occurs, is pure innocence and pure bright clarity and bliss. And there are some entities who have came here without any of the previous impressions, that are just beings who were blessed to be able to come here that way. And then there's also beings who didn't come with any impressions just because they're avatars, and they had the purpose of being on the planet in complete bliss, in complete opulence, in complete joy, all the time, in complete awareness of themselves.
Now you mentioned avatars, I think it would be good to touch on this subject. I've seen in some of your music and some of the stuff that you've shared that an individual by the name of Babaji, his name crops up quite a lot in your influence in your music and your art and stuff like that. So would you like to share a little piece on who Babaji is and his influence on yourself and your work?
Well, I originally first read about Babaji in Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, where he was talking about the yogi Christ of India. And then as time went by, I came in contact with my teacher, Leonard Orr, who spent a bunch of time with Babaji, or someone who's said to be the same Babaji of Yogananda's book. And this was Hirakan Baba, or Haidakan Baba, aka Mahavatar Babaji. And so I've spent a lot of time myself with Leonard Orr and been learning a lot with him. And he himself has spent a lot of time with Babaji. Personally, when I was little, Christ inspired me and told me that he's always been here and is here in many different places at many different times, performing his mission, and that it would be wise for me to begin to expand my view of him and connect with him in different geographical locations from different traditions. And so as I continued on my journey, that's how I came into contact with the idea of Babaji. And I've had a lot of inspiration. I've gone to the Babaji temple many times, and the way I found it happened very miraculously as well. There's been a lot of cool things that happen in relation with Babaji for me. And so for me, it's like a study of seeing where Rastafari or where Krishna appears all throughout our history. And so for me, Babaji is Haile Selassie and Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Neem Karoli Baba, and a lot of different appearances of Babaji have happened over the years. And some people might not see this person as the same person. A lot of people might say, oh, no, these are all different people, or wait, these two are the same, but they're not. And there's no end to really, there's no authority to figure it out. So it's almost just like a fun game of peekaboo, looking for your divinity.
I think it's important that you've bridged those connections there, and that you've thrown out those names into the conversation, because I know people from various different paths, and they all seem to have this idea that their path is correct and that anyone else is completely wrong. Whereas if you can view it from an unbiased perspective, and you can view it from, for want of a better word, the higher perspective, you can actually see many similarities between the stories of Christ, the stories of Krishna, the stories of the yogis from Tibet. There's so many similarities in a lot of these experiences and a lot of these influential people that have gone on to influence people for hundreds of years, even thousands of years. And I think it's interesting that you're one of the people that I see doesn't have a problem with recognizing the divinity within different deities and different even humans and different individuals. You don't seem to have a problem with acknowledging the divinity and showing love to many different aspects, as opposed to nailing it down to one and saying my path is correct and any other path that contradicts this is incorrect. And the way that you said it's like a fun game of peekaboo. It reminded me, about a week ago I was out and I was just doing my thing. I was just traveling around and I saw a woman pushing her kid in a pushchair, and the kid was just silent, and the woman was chatting away to someone that was with her, and the kid was silent, and he was literally just observing his surroundings. I don't think he was old enough to like talk or walk or anything like that. And I actually thought for a second, wow, like maybe that child there, when he's observing things without the judgment and without nailing things down and saying this is right, this is wrong, this is this is that, maybe that child is actually more awakened or enlightened than some of these people that have spent 10-20 years studying the scriptures and all of that then think that they have the authority. Because I think it's important when we're talking about judgment that to be a judge and to judge someone, I'm pretty sure that the definition of a judge is someone that has a high level of understanding or knowledge on a subject, so that then grants them the right to judge another individual. And from my perspective and from my experience, I haven't actually met anyone in my life that has a concrete evidence and 100% knows the truth and could actually demonstrate to me this is the only truth and this is the way the world is. And if everyone that I've come across and everyone that I encounter, there's without a shadow of a doubt, there are people that have a good understanding of life, that have a good understanding of spirit, mathematics, geometry, science, all of these fantastic things. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that all of their work is based upon the work of someone else, and their work is based upon the work of someone else. And it's just a kind of a level of agreement that we've come to this point, and we say, oh yeah, that person knows about this, so we'll trust them and we'll say they've got the right to judge. And unless someone knows 100% why we're here, where we're going when we leave this realm and leave this physical body, if they don't know that, then I don't think that they really have the right to judge, to kind of judge another people or judge another person's path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, they not only do they not have a right to, they actually have a right to go to the crazy institution, because they sound crazy as fuck. If they was like, yeah, and I know this and I know that, it's like you can't tell nobody anything about their own life and experience. It's so personal, and that's the beauty of God, that it's infinite. It's this infinite array. Like maybe there would be some type of supreme being who just came and could tell you all of this stuff. But even if he did, even if she did and told you every meal you ever had on every single day, even if someone told you that, what would make that useful? There's nothing even useful about that. So all that's useful is personal transformation, like self-improvement. That's all that's useful, is continuing to grow. And we're already perfect. So what does self-improvement mean if we're already perfect? It means just resting in our natural state, and also allowing others to be in their natural state and still encouraging and edifying their illumination, their divinity, and their beauty as is.
Exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, the way that the story of Buddha, that from my understanding, the story of Buddha was that he actually reached enlightenment and reached the state of self-realization by doing nothing, by sitting under a tree and meditating. And he actually came to the realization that we're creating the suffering ourselves and that we are the root of the suffering on this planet.
Exactly. And then you see Buddha's path. Buddha has, there's an outer path, there's an inner teaching of Buddha, and then there's the secret teaching of Buddha. So that is something that Buddha taught, but he also taught ways to remove suffering and how to transform our body into the diamond body, into the rainbow body, and because that's what a bodhisattva is for. Like a bodhisattva's whole mission is they finna remain here and continue to serve humanity until all suffering is gone. So how will suffering ever cease if people are being born and they still have to die? That means that they're still on the cycle of birth and death. And so the thing that Buddha, Nagarjuna, Padmasambhava, all these Mahasiddhas that were said to be Buddha in this also other versions of Buddha, they brought this tantric technique on how to, just by sitting as is, by being, you can actually transform yourself, your body into the deity and reconnect, relive from your soul, which is immortal, which ends up spiritualizing the flesh. It's light body technology said to be brought from different star systems. And Buddha Shakyamuni actually taught this. And it's mainly being taught through the Tibetan Buddhist schools of Tantra as well. But I just thought I'd mention that because Buddha did discover that life is suffering, but he also discovered that it doesn't have to be suffering and that there's way out of the suffering.
Right. And I believe as well, or it's my understanding, that there's a quote from Buddha, and he said that when you realize how perfect everything is, you'll tilt your head to the sky and laugh.
That's true. That's true. And whether he said it or not, if you're Buddha and you have that realization right now, then he said it, because Buddha's mission was, Buddha just means awake. And it was never Buddha's mission to just be some dude that was worshiped while we just, offer incense and talk about his words. That's what we do. We could just laugh, look at the ceiling and laugh, look at the sky and laugh. If you just do that for long enough, you'll be enlightened really quickly, actually.
I hear you loud and clear. And I think it's important that you said then, whether Buddha said it or not, and whether we choose to say it, because when we're talking about Buddha, I think that a lot of the time people will perceive that there was this one individual called Buddha that lived in India all this time ago. And when we're talking about Buddha, that we are referring to this one individual and his life story and his life path, which is cool, because whether he existed, whether he didn't exist, whether the stories are true, whether the quotes are true, I think that's besides the point, because there's a teaching of the Buddha that we can all reach the state of Buddhahead. We can all reach the state of Godhead.
Exactly. And that's the experiential part of it all. Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter whether we have physical evidence and concrete evidence to back up this story or to back up this quote or something like that, because if you reach a state of awareness in yourself and you come to peace within yourself and your surroundings and your experience, then it's my perspective that you could grant yourself the title of Buddha.
Yeah. In Tantra, you're supposed to start off as seeing yourself as Buddha, wherever you're starting off at. And you're supposed to start off as seeing yourself as enlightened already and see other beings as enlightened already, all other beings. And so if they're doing some stuff that sort of is incongruous with how you like to do, you don't leave from that realization that they're Buddha or enlightened. You just may think of them like, yo, that's Buddha behaving a little different than how I would. That's Buddha doing one of the infinite things that these deities can do, because this is an infinite play. And you just stay in that awareness all the time through Tantra. In Sutra, it's the opposite. You know, you're reaching for enlightenment. You're reaching for this end goal. In Tantra, you start at the end and then allow your whole life to sort of be swallowed up into that awareness that you maintain for as continuous as possible. For that's what Tantra means, continuous, one of its meanings.
Right. It makes sense. Like, to me, everything that we're discussing and everything that we're having a conversation about, it makes logical and practical sense, as opposed to a lot of this hocus pocus stuff, you know?
Yeah. There's every path is valid for everyone, but there is, when we forget that belief is just a tool to serve the things that we want to create in life. Belief isn't there as where there's someone sitting like, are you going to believe this? If you don't believe this, you're going to be punished and sent to hell. If you don't believe this, I'm not going to bless you with this or that. It's like, that's not happening. It's believe, imagine what you want to happen, believe in it, believe that it can happen, and then live from that place, doing actual things that lead towards it happening, or things that affirm that you know, that you have faith in what you have imagined. That's all that belief is for. Belief isn't there as a right and wrong belief thing.
So when you're talking about these authoritative figures that say you shouldn't do this, you can't do this, or you're gonna burn in hell. If you miss this prayer, then you're gonna burn in hell. If you say my name wrong, you're gonna burn in hell. All of these concepts and all of these ideas, they sound to me like an abusive relationship. You know, like whether it's between a male and a female, or a child and a abusive father or mother or whatever. You know, when it's an abuse of power. It's an abuse of power on behalf of the individual that wants to dominate and to control the other individual. And they'll say, take for example, there's two parents, yeah. There's a male and a female, and they want to do their thing, yeah. And the kid's like, he's fucking around. He's like playing with his cars, smashing them into stuff, yeah, making noise and that. And they want to do their thing. So they say to the kid, right, you got to go to bed now. And they know that this kid's mischievous, yeah. Like, this kid's a prankster. And they say, right, you got to go to bed now, knowing that 9 times out of 10, the kid gets out of bed. He's sitting at the top of the stairs. He's listening to the conversation. He's spying on what they're doing, because he's inquisitive. The child wants to learn. The child wants to know what's going on. So they send the kid to bed. And then they say to the kid, yeah, there are monsters under your bed, or monsters in the wardrobe, wherever you want to put them. And if you try and get out of bed, these monsters are going to get you. These parents, yeah, they may justify it to themselves, because they say, we know there's nothing's going to hurt him. They know there's no monsters under the bed, there's no monsters in the wardrobe. So they justify this white lie, but ultimately it's so that they get what they want, and so that they are empowered to do what they desire. And because the child is young and the child doesn't know any better, and unfortunately the child places his trust and belief in the parent, which is actually abusing that and taking advantage of that, then the child may actually be scarred or traumatized in certain ways without the parent knowing the depth of the actions that they're partaking in. And if we can relate that abusive relationship and situation between a parent and a child, and then we play it out with these religious teachers and the religious scriptures and the religious institutions that say you better do this or you better do that, and not even just religious, like political institutions. There's so many different organizations and institutions that say you must conform to what I want or what I expect, or you will be punished. Then to me, if you look at who it benefits when people say these things and when these organizations say these things, it all sounds as if these ideas of you'll burn in hell if you do this, you'll be punished, your skin will be ripped from your flesh, you'll be poked by demons with a fork, all this stuff. It sounds to me, yeah, like a human ideology and like a human idea, as opposed to a godhead or a godly ideology. Do you get me?
Yeah, it's purely conditional. Firstly, it's based on all these conditions, and it's all fear-based. And then it's like God don't even don't operate from that. God is just pure love. Pure love. That's all that God is. And so when we talk about all this extra punishments and stuff, there's a parent has never punished their kid for all eternity for the amount of time that that they could. And if they did, people was like, yeah, that parent got issues. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't do that. And so why would the infinite loving parent, the infinite source creator, be doing anything like that? It's ludicrous. And it's not even really, anyone who's believing in that is at a level where I don't even really connect. Them people don't even be nowhere near me. Like, they won't even come into my home. I don't talk to people that are even on that level who believing in hell, you know what I'm saying? Not in that way.
It seems like you definitely hold a close circle of powerful, informed individuals around you. On the same subject, how would you like to see things manifest, and which direction would you like to see the collective? Which direction would you like to see things headed in?
Everyone becoming their own superhero or heroine. Everyone accessing their infinite soul power, their cities, the ability to bilocate, to levitate, see for the collective, everyone becoming all the superpowers. The fact that we are attracted to like all this Marvel and DC shit right now on TV or on Netflix, and on those are just some of the hot shows, superhero, and most people have had a strong connection to superheroes or superpowers when they was little, even if it was just Care Bears, like Dave Chappelle was just talking about on his little show. The Care Bear having superpowers, we have that, and so that's what I'm seeing for humanity, for every single person to be able to turn wine into water, or turn water into wine, or to all the powers that Christ had to raise people from the dead, to be impenetrable by bullets, not be able to be harmed by fire or heat or cold. This is what I'm seeing for humanity, and I see this happens through compassion, really. It happens through our desire to remove suffering from humanity. And so we access all the powers of our soul through every sacred geometrical sphere that is known as our body and universe, through every little part and platonic solid, this crystallic form that makes up our body. It's all fractal, holographic. We allow this awareness to open ourselves up to our true nature and allow our body to express its 5-colored rainbow light.
I can really appreciate that, because long before we ever connected and we ever worked together or anything like that, I was banging your music way back, and I was listening to your music way back, and then I was listening to a lot of like the stuff that you did with Atma and the Master Builders, the Reptilian Body Snatchers, all of that real raw shit.
You never read this. You never read that. You never read shit because your ass can't.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. That's how I came across you, yeah. And I was banging that because I was at a place in my life where obviously I was attracted to your music and it resonated with me because I was living very differently then and I was experiencing a very different reality then. And over the past few years, I've grown and I've matured, hopefully, like physically and mentally and spiritually. And your more recent works that you put out probably over the last few years or so, it seems to have taken not a different direction, because you've still got that raw, You still got that raw, straight to the point stuff, but now it seems that as opposed to the idea of like digging into someone's chest, metaphorically, you're kind of opening the mind and pouring something in, like watering the plants. It's like watering the plants with your recent music, especially like health, wealth, knowledge of self. Those tunes there, they seem to be about empowering not even yourself, but actually encouraging the empowerment of other individuals, and to, like you said, to hold up a mirror to the powers that each of us possess. And I think that that's real, man. And I think that that's something to be appreciative of, because I'm appreciative of that. You definitely inspired me a lot through your music and watching your journey and listening to your talks and your interviews and all of that good shit, man. So I think it's beautiful the way that you've got both aspects to you. You've got this kind of raw militant side, but then you've got this real deep compassionate side. That's a true warrior. For me, you're embodying the warrior spirit. I remember you speaking a while back about how to be conscious and to be spiritual by no means that you have to be passive, or you have to be an idiot, or you have to be silent in the face of oppression, injustice, stuff like that, because there's many figures throughout history that have banged on the oppressor whilst being conscious. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. The only way we can change it is through consciousness, because if we hit them with the same hate, hit them with the same fear that has caused the situation, it ain't finna work. So like I definitely came into this, with some militancy, but I realized in the long run, if it's all militancy and there's no actual love and reconciliation and atonement, there's no progress individually for each person, then there's always going to be a loose cannon, or some nation over here, some little pocket of people over here who just didn't get the memo, didn't get the peace memo, they didn't get the love memo. And so these niggas is still set on some greedy ass control manipulative plans. And until we all go on a mission to remove manipulation and greediness from our own self, even through just the inclination to think in that way, until we remove every little residue of that, there will be pockets on the earth that behave like that. And so, that's the way I approach that.
Right. And the way that you break it down, it's so simple, but it's so powerful, because even in my personal experience, I've got friends and people in my family and stuff like that, where, like you said, there's good and there's bad and there's fucked up shit, but all of these individuals are playing a role, and all of these individuals are serving a purpose, if nothing else, to demonstrate to me, like, that's a bit fucked up. Do you know what I mean? I ain't gonna go down that route. I ain't necessarily gonna repeat that. I ain't necessarily gonna repeat the actions of these individuals that are behaving in a fucked up way. And then on the other side of the coin, I've got individuals in my experience and that I've come across and that I've worked with and that I've built with, that really, really, really do embody this spirit of compassion, that embody the spirit of righteousness, that really seem to bang hard, but in their own way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We have to know what is our true will and what is liberty, and to stand for that. But when we do that in a wise way, we begin to think of all the other people who have their true will and liberty, and they might not be in tune with their true will. They're just in tune with a false will. And I'm not saying this like I'm greater than anyone because I'm in tune with my true will. I don't see it like that. It's more so just a gauge for ourselves to say, are we really living what we intend on living. Are we gonna live that? And there may be some people in our experience who they're very judgmental or condemning because they're not living that true will, and they're not living through liberty. They don't feel free, they don't feel sovereign, and they don't feel like they're accomplishing what they came to earth to do. And that could leave a person very frustrated. And so, like the people in our sphere who seem to be on quote unquote fuckery, they're really just little kids who had dreams, still have dreams, but somehow have been conditioned by the system the same way I was. I'm not gonna act like I wasn't conditioned, and I'm not gonna act like all the conditioning has been purged. But from the get-go, I as a tantric yogi, I do see myself as enlightened all the way. And right now I'm just taking care of the little things so that I can utilize my enlightenment the way I'd like to. And that's the way I really like to see all beings, even when they own what it seems like as bullshit. I still want to edify and see those beings as masters, as somehow they're just on that tree ripening. Their fruit is still ripening, just like mine is, you know?
Right, and you're not so quick to condemn and to send them to hell, right?
Right. Even if they do that to me.
Exactly. And I think it's good that we've touched on this, because in my personal experience, I've encountered individuals that have been, like you said, they're like children, yeah. But the problem is, you can't turn around and call someone, well, you can, but you're gonna encounter resistance, you're gonna encounter frustration. If you come across someone that is 50 years old in the physical body, but they've done no work on themselves, they've never questioned their reality, they've never questioned authority, they've never questioned their beliefs, they've never questioned their culture, they've never questioned tradition, any of these things, they can be 50 years old in a physical body, but they can be 5 years old spiritually.
Yeah, and even that's okay. That's because it only takes one instant. In a holy instant, that person can transform through doing no work into a spiritual master. That's the beauty of this whole shit, is that awareness, one moment of pure awareness is worth 10, 20, 30 years of meditation, because the awareness is what matters, the pure awareness, the clear awareness. And so these people that we're in, it's very imperative for us as people who are more so on the path where we can identify ourselves as Buddha, as Christ, as Bodhisattva. It's imperative for us more than anyone to see the most ignorant appearing person as a Buddha and as a Christ and as enlightened and as the potential to immediately live from that at any moment. At any moment, they could just snap, be sitting on the motherfucking stoop and on their house, and then just their mind just all of a sudden, wait a sec, I'm divine just like everything, and I'm gonna share this divinity through love and through my creativity. And they might just change like overnight. So
that's right, and it did for me. I know it did for me, and I speak for myself, but I'm not in a position to judge where and when these awakenings and these transitions will happen for individuals, because someone might encounter it whilst they're watering the plants in their garden and a bee flies by, and then they realize the divine essence of everything in creation and all of these things. Someone else might be in a war zone with bombs dropping around them, and then they come to this realization. So I don't think that we need to that we need to stick to this idea that spirituality and awakenings and all of these things, that it all has to be candles and incense and flowers and all of that, you know, because boy, I love them things, but also there's other things that played a huge part in my awakening that were very, very contradictory to what we perceive as quote unquote spiritual.
That's right. That's right. All the other stuff is just for fun, you know, the incense and all that shit. That's just like, yo, we just playing around. But the the important thing is the realization.
And the self-realization is the goal and is the key, man. Right. This conversation has taken so many different directions, and I've really enjoyed it. I would appreciate it now if you could tell anybody listening where they can catch your work, where they can catch up with your social media, your posts, where they can contact you, because I think it's important that people that maybe haven't heard some of your work, that maybe are hearing from you for the first time, that they can backtrack and they can go and do the homework because the work's out there.
Yeah. Well, at IlluminatiCongo.com is where you can have you can find a lot of my music and merchandise. There'll be more updated on there soon, but there's a good amount of things there. IlluminatiCongo.com. We on Instagram as Illuminati Congo. We on Facebook, Illuminati Congo, YouTube. I'm gonna be spending more time on YouTube over the next year or so, and less time on my Facebook and Instagram, but I'll still be on both of those. So you can find me there. Just type in Illuminati Congo and it'll be all over. We on Pandora. We tour, so I'll probably be. We do mini tours, nothing super big, but I'll probably be in someone's neck of the woods who's listening pretty soon. So stay in tune.
Right, and I think now would be the perfect opportunity to tell people that you've actually got a playlist on your YouTube channel called The Teachings of Jahn, right?
Oh, I guess I do, yeah.
And that actually that inspired me and influenced me a lot way back when I was kind of digging into things. So anyone that's hot on the YouTube and that, then jump on the YouTube, check out The Teachings of Jahn as well, because there's all kinds of good shit there.
Got over 2 million views on our YouTube channel, so it's pretty popping. But the thing is, I haven't been using it and uploading stuff for many years now, and I feel like I've been playing myself and my YouTube audience, and also playing my bank account, because I get paid from YouTube and I don't get paid from from
the Facebook
from
and
Facebook or Instagram. So I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah, so I'm gonna change that up.
It's been such an interesting experience. I really, really enjoyed it. Thanks for your time, John, man.
Yo, it's been a pleasure, G.
And I think that at a later date, maybe we can come back and we can pick up and we can maybe go a little bit more in depth in some of the subjects that we've mentioned, and Leonard Orr, the breath work, Babaji, all that good shit.
Yeah, I'm always down for that. It was fun. It was fun to share. I like talking. One thing I want to say is nothing that I say is true. I don't see any of my words as true. They're just little pointers, and maybe to understand and to get across of what I'm attempting to say, and you can have your own realizations. But it's best to always see my words or anyone's words as not the truth. They're just expressions that could possibly help us have a internal glimpse or experience of the truth, but they might also not. So
right, and I'm a co-sign that, man, because I'm in a similar place and I'm in a similar experience right now. Like, I ain't saying that I know everything, and I ain't saying that I've got everything figured out, because I definitely ain't. But I just like to share my experience and to share, so that if there is anyone else out there that's kind of questioning things and in a similar path to me, when I was just out there writing my name on shit and just kind of just out there just trying to figure out what is this life and what am I, like, who am I, why am I here? My best piece of advice to anybody listening would be to, if you're looking for answers, then look within, because that's where the real wisdom and the real knowledge is. Like, all the other shit is cool, the books, the lectures, the rituals, the activities, yeah, it's good, but you want to seek that real nectar and you want to seek that real divine essence, then look within, man.
That's right.
Right. Enough respect, John, man. Thank you very much for your time and for your energy. And I'm sure we'll catch up soon, man.
It's my honor, G. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out. I look forward to building more soon.
If you have enjoyed listening to this podcast, please consider leaving a donation at our website, www.lightwear.co.uk.